Welcome back to the Happy No Fear podcast. As always, I am your host, Chase. And on this week's episode, we have a very special guest who kind of travels the world and does an amazing project she calls the World Letter. Let's find out what it's all about and get a little deeper into her motivations and what she's up to. So, without further ado, here's my friend, Cocovan. So, Coco, good to see you again.
It's very nice to see you, Chase.
Yes, totally. You were in LA now. This is your last day. You leave tomorrow. Tell us why you were here.
I was here because I was doing an art show called Bright. So I came to set up the World Letter, my ongoing installation at this art show. And it was over 3 weekends, so I had to be here for the month.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and the World Letter, that's I think that's your project now. That's taken up most of your time.
Yes, it is.
It's a crazy thing. I want to know how, because we met long time ago.
Yeah, I think
when you were still singing, I think.
Totally.
Or when you just first started to do the World Letter.
I think it was when I was still singing. I remember exactly what period we met, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. I was living in my Hollywood apartment.
Yeah.
I was totally still a singer.
Yeah. And so you were singing, you had a project, you were doing videos, all that stuff, right? Singing on other people's tracks as well.
Yeah.
And then how and I think then you got into, I think through, because you were kind of art directing yourself and your videos, and all of a sudden maybe I think you discovered that, hey, there's something in this, there's a performance aspect of this, which then led you to try some performance pieces.
Yeah, exactly. What I was frustrated with the music industry, it was that I didn't have enough creative, freedom. And, I love the music part of the music industry, but the industry part was difficult to deal with, especially when you're trying to be, very authentic artistically.
Right.
Because it's true, it's not just a cliche, it's not just like a Star is Born.
Yeah.
They actually are trying to mold you,
manufacture
you to whatever is working at the moment.
Right.
If R&B is the thing at the moment, they're gonna try to make you turn into an R&B artist, even though it literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So after years of fighting and trying to push my artistry and just feeling so much resistance in front of me, it became so frustrating. And I think in the back of my mind, I was trying to find ways to exit this industry, but without having to go for a plan B. Because when you're an artist, how everybody's yeah, it's great, art is great, but you should come up with a plan B. What is that?
It was a little earthquake.
Oh, there was an earthquake?
No.
Oh.
Was that an earthquake? No, I don't think it was.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, so the plan B.
Have you never had that? People saying, Chase, art is blah, 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 but then maybe you should think of a plan B.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But,
and that's weird when people say that because, plan A is, if plan A isn't plan A,
yeah.
If you have a plan B, then you really don't have a plan A. You know what I mean?
Totally, 100%.
You have to be kind of, in my world, Rocky about it.
Absolutely.
And maybe a woman doesn't use that reference.
Rocky?
Or Rocky, or like Mike Tyson,
Yeah. So the thing with the plan B thing is that why does the plan B have to be something else than art? People were music, it's difficult.
Right.
And
who was saying this? Was it
mom,
family, everyone?
Yeah, family, everyone. Maybe not friends that knew how committed I was to music, but my mom definitely told me a bunch of times,
Yeah.
And I think my plan B was not going to be anything else than art. So if it wasn't going to be music, even after 10 years of investing everything into that, it was still going to be something artistic,
right.
Maybe even more crazy than music.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big rebel at heart.
Yeah.
So when people are you should go for a plan B, I'm oh, okay. Let me come up with a plan B that's even crazier.
Yeah. So you were getting frustrated, and then all of a sudden you got this feeling for performance art. right?
Yeah, so it was like a series of things that inspired me to go that route because I think the contemporary art world is not necessarily better than the music industry.
Right.
And I always saw my friends in the art world like very inaccessible.
Right.
So I never thought of myself, literally never occurred to me that I could be a contemporary artist. But I remember, a series of things that inspired me. And I saw this documentary, Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Yeah, the Banksy doc.
The Banksy documentary.
Right, yeah.
And when I watched it, I was like, street artists are so free.
Yeah.
They're so free. They don't respond to any industry. I think I was still traumatized with the music industry thing. And like when I saw the documentary, it was like street artists, they can just like do whatever they have in mind, wherever they want. They are not trying to be commercialized, at least like not right away, you know? And they're just free. So I think
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, it's so true, no?
Yeah.
So after watching it, I just like closed my laptop and was like, I want to be a street artist.
Yeah.
But then I realized that I'm scared to get arrested and I don't want to be deported, whatever.
Right.
So
because you were living, you're from Paris, and then you were living in LA for a while already.
I was living in LA
which
for
comes
a while.
with a condition and a visa and all this kind of stuff. So it's difficult to start in the US.
It's difficult to start in the US, yeah. So that's another layer of difficulty to the music industry thing, is that I am actually not even from here.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make it in a country that's not even my country.
Yeah. And the system is different, the language, legal stuff, contracts, whatever it is. Yeah. It's an extra layer of difficulty.
Totally.
Yeah, it is.
And the US, it's like the top for like entertainment. So when you want to make it here in LA, it's like you literally just reach for the most difficult path possible.
Yeah. It's really true. And maybe the most difficult path in LA is to become a successful actor.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And then probably singer.
Singer, yeah.
Right? Because like the whole country, 340 million people are coming here to become that, right?
Yeah. Totally.
And the whole world also.
And the whole world.
It's a magnet for everyone with a big dream.
Yeah, definitely. So competition is, it's huge. And so after watching that documentary, I thought I would love to explore street art, but I don't want to do wheat pasting and not graffiti either, because obviously like I'm scared to do anything illegal.
Yeah.
And I had started exploring performance art in my own way with like making my music videos and just in general, like when I was pushing the artistry behind the music or just like additionally to the music. And I just had this idea one day. I was like, what if all the things that I create for my music videos, the huge sets and those performances in my music videos, what if I brought that to the street? So it's not wheat pasting or it's not painting, but it's performance art in the street, like street performance art.
Right.
Street art, but performance art.
Yeah.
And I remember calling all of my street artists, and I probably actually texted you.
Yeah.
And asked like, hey, does this exist? Like, is it an art form, street performance art? And I remember that my street artist friends, they got back to me like, maybe I saw like a statue woman and like
like the frozen guy.
The frozen guy, oh yeah, maybe like JR, he did like a performance piece in the street or something, but it was not something that was like very...
It wasn't done in a way that... It's more like to earn $1, right, from tourists.
Yeah.
In a way, it's true.
Yeah, I just don't see it much, you know?
By the way, I always said, when people talk about street art and everything, like I always point out also that the guy playing accordion is also a street artist. And they're like, no, that's not street art. I'm like, of course it is. The gypsy that is doing something, or even the frozen guy, he's a street artist.
Totally.
He's a street mime,
Yeah.
And I know France has a big tradition with mime. They mime. How do you say it?
Mime, yeah.
Yeah, like mimes and sort of frozen guys also, and the tightrope walkers.
Totally.
Right? It was a big tradition, I think, since the 1700s, right?
Yeah. Because it's like what brings joy to the street,
Right, exactly.
Brings like a little entertainment in the street. because I guess, like, unlike LA, like, we have streets, and like the center of the town is like where everybody gathers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's always been a part of the French tradition, I think. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mimes, we don't see them as often, I guess, but accordéon definitely. So
you tried a few things in the street.
So then I pitched the idea to like my friend that I was working on everything visually with the music, and I was like, let's bring performance art to the street, and he was like, no, like, this is weird, your idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just try it. And so we brought a bed out in the street in London, and I lay down in the bed.
Amazing, yeah.
And I started plucking
an actual
petals.
bed, right?
An actual bed, and I started plucking those petals over and over for like 6 hours in the street in London. And like the response was like immediate. It was amazing.
Amazing.
People were like so taken into and taken in. So after that, like I started a series of art installations in the streets that I called poetic interventions. So it's like a way to disrupt the routine with a big dose of poetry.
Right.
Unexpected.
Yeah. You turn a corner and all of a sudden, bam, there's something happening there. And you would it be, what would, like, just to get an idea, what kind of examples?
So there was one in Paris where I was sitting, we brought a big moon, like a crescent moon.
I remember seeing that, yeah.
In the street, and I sat on the crescent moon, kind of dressed like Pierrot, with the little pom-pom.
Yeah.
And I brought a large piece of fabric, and I was sewing on that piece of fabric stars.
Yeah.
So I was threading the cosmos.
Yeah.
Over and over and over until the big piece of fabric was covered in stars.
Yeah.
And
super poetic.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And then once it's finished, it's finished.
Once it's finished, it's finished.
And then that was that one. Would you repeat certain performances?
The petals one became kind of like a signature. Like this one, I kind of repeated different places. Right. But the props, like logistically, it's difficult to actually travel with those performances. And
right.
So it definitely, the fact that it's a one-day thing, it's not just a decision. It's actually.
It's a production. There's a lot of pre-production.
Oh, the pre-production.
Because that amount of fabric, how are you going to get it there? It can be a small piece. It's got to be really wide fabric, right? You got to have the right space, someone to help you bring it all there, right? So there's a lot that probably goes into it before you get there.
Yeah, and it's very expensive too.
Also, yeah.
Super expensive.
And so I'm sure, especially in the beginning, it was all self-funded. You just like, I have some money, I'm going to put it in.
The poetic interventions, all self-funded. Thousands of euros or dollars. Yeah. For just like creating them.
And would you take donations, or was that not acceptable? Because that's a little bit like you're begging, right? Or is it?
I mean, no. And now I believe in donations, totally. But at the time, I wasn't really thinking about it. Not that I didn't need it, but no donations.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like I should put a hat. Yeah.
Where, when?
Oh, when I paint, like half of the walls that I paint them for free. I pay.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know that.
Because let's say you have a liquor store, right?
Yeah.
And I see the location, I like the location, I walk in there, I say blah, 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 I would love to like turn it into something. And the guy's like, okay, just don't give me any trouble beyond this, and I'm not going to pay for nothing. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, no problem. My usual, right?
I love that you do the accent.
Usually it's not that accent, but for some reason I always think of a New York accent. Don't give me no trouble, kid. And so I paint it, but maybe I should put a hat sometime. But it feels weird to do that.
I don't think it's weird. I have a whole theory on like how, as artists, we should get paid.
Yeah.
Should not be afraid to ask for money.
Right.
And I don't believe in not paying artists anymore.
Right.
No.
That's good.
Like 2 days ago, I was going to this like art show in LA. I'm not gonna say what, but and the dude that is the curator, like the founder of the art show, he was like, yeah, so we give artists a platform, and you could come here and do your art, like your performances if you want. And I'm like, but do you guys have budget for artists? And he's like, oh no, but like you can use this space as a platform.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do you think I have 8 hours of my day to bring my performances here for $0?
Yeah.
How do you think I'm going to drive back home?
Exactly.
How do you think I'm going to eat?
Yeah.
How do you think I'm going to fly back to New York? No, this is work.
Yeah.
You're not going to hire like a food truck. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. No, they love to use it. Everyone loves to use it. All the way from agencies to venues to this to that. You know, it'll be a great platform. It'll be great promotion.
Great platform? I told him, I'm like...
For you...
Yeah,
right? And there's enough work for us to do already.
And it was so funny because when he told me that, I was like, oh, I actually don't need a platform. I perform in the street. The street is my platform.
Yeah, I say that too sometimes. When like I had a call yesterday, and it's a rooftop. It's a production company that has a big rooftop that they rent out in downtown. And she was like, well, we shoot a lot of videos up here and you know, production. You know, brands, they rent the space, and it would be great for you because you'll be. She wasn't even at all with the times. She said, you know, then you'll be seen in like commercials, and your work will be seen in commercials. I'm like, that's not good because if my work is used in a commercial,
you should get paid thousands of dollars.
Of course. I mean, if I agree, then we strike a deal.
Yeah,
and that's it. But she thought that I wanted to paint so badly that I would paint her rooftop for free, which was big. Yeah. It's like huge rooftop. You can fit like 500 cars.
Wow.
And she said, but don't worry about the releases. We release everything. And I'm like, wait, that's silly.
Yeah.
What's in it for us, the artists,
totally.
Right? And she's like, no, we take care of it. And I'm like, lady, you don't understand.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want it to be as a part of some commercial or some film. That you didn't even
approve. Yeah.
Exactly. So people are really backwards, and I think they kind of have they think when you're being an artist, right, that you're just playing, having fun in life.
Yeah.
And of course we are, and that's what we talked about earlier. I would like for you to talk about that as well. Like, it's actually quite intense.
Yeah.
To come up with work. It requires a lot of energy and time. So can you talk about that?
No, I was just saying earlier, sorry that listeners, this is a bit all over the place.
It's fine. And then we'll hop back onto
so
the origin story of the world leather.
For sure. How I see it is that there is, because people always ask, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? And here's the answer for me. I am an introvert at home and an extrovert outside.
Yes.
And when I step out of my house, I'm the most social person. I make friends with everybody. The guy at the deli, the guy at the laundromat. I set up my installations in the street. I talk to everybody. I'm very social. I'm my best self. When I get home, I am the opposite of that. Yes. I don't want to talk. I want to be in my thoughts, in my mind. And that's when my creative process starts.
Yes.
That's when the ideas start coming to me. I listen to music. I cry. I laugh. You would see me in my creative process. You would think she's a crazy person.
Yeah.
You know?
And maybe you are. You know?
And maybe I am.
But it's okay.
But when I'm home, I just need to be it's a very intimate moment where I'm me, myself and I, and my thoughts and my ideas and my music and my things. And I don't want anyone to intervene in that.
It sounds like people have been intervening a little bit.
Yeah. Because when you live with roommates, people just knock on the door, ask you for things. When you when you go to the kitchen just to grab water, someone's going to start a conversation with you. And you cannot be in control with you get home from a performance, you're exhausted, and then they're playing music or whatever.
Right.
So definitely important for me to oh no, you were saying there's a lot of work behind the scenes. Yeah.
How people consider, we are the lucky ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way we are. Mm-hmm. But what people don't understand is they think we just make stuff out of nowhere.
Yeah, no.
It's there's a lot of time, there's a lot of experimentation, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of investing, energy, getting ourselves out there, right? There's that component too.
I think it's because when people see the result, the final result, it looks very effortless.
Right.
And the other day I saw this thing on the internet where it was Picasso that tried to draw a bull.
Uh-huh.
And he drew for years on end, many bulls. And little by little he would strip, remove some elements of this bull.
Stylize more and more.
So the first it's a very realistic bull with the horns and everything, and then it's little by little he just removes some of the elements of the body of this animal, until it becomes just like straight lines.
Right.
And when you see the final result, you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of straight lines.
Yeah.
But no, like it took him years
Right.
to analyze the body of the animal and like how to remove the line, and so it looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't see.
They don't see the 10,000 hours that came before that moment. And Picasso used to say that too, when he was really in his kind of minimalist cubist phase, with just a few lines, like a naive child. Some person, who was buying something, said, "Well, you don't really work too much on this stuff, do you? How long does it take, this painting?" Right? Some guy who doesn't know, some bon vivant or whatever. He's over there with some money to spend, and Picasso said, "Oh, how long did it take? You really want to know?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm just like 8-9 minutes, right? Yeah. Being like in front of people, right?" And Picasso said, "No, this painting took me my whole life." Oof.
Yeah.
That's goosebumps.
Same, I got goosebumps.
Wow.
Little chill.
And so, yeah, that's what we're doing actually. And so a lot of people don't really, I feel like they like the art or the arts, but they don't really have the chance to properly think about it. Yeah. Right? And that's okay too. But that is what it is. Yeah. So now you're at the level of the story where you're trying out some performances. Yeah. You're finding out how long it takes to set up. Wow, it's difficult to do actually. So what happens then?
I mean, what happened is that as a contrast, I think it's good that I failed so much. I say fail with like the little. How do you call that?
Oh, failed.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean...
Failed between quotation marks.
Yeah, between quotation marks. With the music industry is that at least I knew what not having success felt like.
Right.
So then when I started doing the poetic interventions, this reaction, the feedback from the people, I didn't know before. Right. It felt like success. Yeah. It felt like something was working out.
Yes.
So it was good because I was like, oh, this feeling is new. This is working.
Yeah.
So
because you were probably expecting to struggle. Maybe some people will like it, but it's supposed to be really difficult and tough. But
it was instantly
so
successful.
Like there was good feedback.
Incredible.
That's amazing.
Like the first time I had like 100 people gathering around like this bed in London. The second time I did a performance in LA at the Women's March. LA Weekly reported it. Like
that's amazing.
Literally,
you're like, I may be onto something here.
I may be onto something. Yeah. So that's why, even though it was not lucrative, and I was actually putting a lot of money into it, I was like, this is working, so I need to keep going. And so I continued, came up with more poetic interventions, more installations, more CDs, and always kind of DIY, but still like pulled it off. And then I one day had this idea for like the next poetic intervention, that I was going to set up a desk in the street and write a love letter. And it was going to be like the whole day. And at first, like the letter was going to be like short, and then it was just like longer and longer,
Yeah. The more people write, the longer the letter gets.
No, because it was just going to be me.
Oh, it was just you writing a love letter.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, because all these poetic interventions, it was never like completely interactive.
Right.
It was just me there doing my thing,
right,
and then people looking at it.
Right, exactly.
Just like really performance art. I mean, no, sometimes it is interactive, but like it was like still like the stage thing. Like people are watching something, looking at something. So never like participatory.
But no participation yet. Yeah.
No, sometimes I would kind of interact with people, like hand a star or a rose.
Right.
But they were never like a part of
the work, right?
So this one, when I wrote the love letter, it was in Berlin, and on my way there, I realized that I had no one to write the love letter to, because I'm single, and I haven't been like very lucky in love in the past years.
Yeah. So you were unlucky in love?
So on my way there, I realized that I had no one to write this love letter to. And because I've been single and also very unlucky in love the past years. So I thought I'm going to write this love letter to the world because I like to challenge the status quo. And I feel like the status quo is always to say, oh, the world is falling apart. It's so tough these days and everything, which is not true. It is true.
Right.
But I was like, no, there are a lot of things to love about the world. So
Right.
I'm going to write this love letter to the world. This is my act of rebellion against the status quo.
Right.
and write how much I love the world. So we set up a desk in the street in Berlin, but like a big installation with like, so I did it with my friend Romain Boutin, which I really want to give credit to here because all of the installations I've done with him. And he's a set designer and creative director, and we do everything together.
Right.
So we set up this like very tall desk with like a massive tablecloth that looks like the sky, and bring an actual chair, and like the back of the chair, it's like a heart. It was a big thing. Like we had to bring that in like an SUV taxi. Like it's a lot of production.
Yeah.
And when we set up, we have no idea if. Do you think
it's good?
I don't think it's gonna cut.
Yeah.
Why did it cut earlier?
I have no idea, but I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. So, you edit in the podcast?
We can.
Okay. I mean, just like what I just said. So what was I gonna say? Yeah. So
you set up in front of this church in the middle of Berlin.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do set up guerrilla style. Like we do not have a permit, and I never asked for a permit.
Right. That's what I was going to ask, yeah. So you just choose a spot. It's obviously where there's a lot of people coming through. You set up, and then you just do it.
Yeah, and there's always this risk that you invest all this money to create this big thing, and then maybe 10 minutes into it, the police is going to come and kick you out, you know?
Yeah.
So it's always a big risk.
Has that ever happened?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and what, because I feel like some countries are a little bit more forgiving than others.
Yeah, so it's happened in Mexico, but not in all of Mexico. That's the thing. It's like it depends on the neighborhoods.
Right.
It's happened in like this touristy neighborhood of Mexico. It's happened in Montreal in a touristy neighborhood too.
Yeah.
And it's happened in Cannes during the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, because I saw you did it at Cannes 2018, I think, last year.
Yeah. Big thing with the police.
Yeah, and but isn't it nice to maybe like resist a little bit, and we're not breaking down? Is that what you did?
Yeah. I always resist. And it's always a very interesting story every time.
Yeah.
But okay, so thankfully that day in Berlin it didn't happen. We didn't get any trouble with anybody. And so I started writing my love letter to the world, and I didn't intend for this piece to be like participatory or. But the thing is that people, like, unlike the other poetic interventions where people didn't necessarily try to be a part of the piece, in this one people were like coming very close to me and talking to me and like actually inquiring to write on the letter too.
Interesting.
As soon as they knew that this was a love letter to the world, they were like, oh, I really want to do it too. So the first guy that actually really like was determined enough to like pick a pen and do it was Chinese. So he wrote his love letter to the world in Chinese.
Interesting.
And when he did so, I was like, of course, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
If there ever was a love letter to the world to be done, it shouldn't be done by just me.
Yeah.
It should be the whole world.
Should be the whole world, yeah.
So.
Which, by the way, makes sense because in Asian culture, like every temple they have these little cards at the temple, and you can write your wish for the world there. I did it in the Meiji Temple in Tokyo.
Okay.
And so everyone that visits does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's a wish for the world?
Wish for the world. Your wish for the world. And it's
crazy.
Man, I'm not going to see you again before you leave, but it's like this wooden thing.
I've seen it in pictures.
Yeah, it's like, and then you write your wish for the world on there.
I'm just going to write it down because I don't want to forget.
I will mail you one. I have a blank one. I'll send it to you.
Really?
I have an extra one, yeah.
That you brought from Japan?
Yep. Yeah.
So
it makes sense that the Chinese man said, wait a minute, my wish also. Because it's part of his culture, right?
Yeah, but then like 2 minutes later, a Russian man came and had the same thought.
Great.
So.
And who knows what happens in Russia?
Yeah, exactly. And then like this Syrian family, and just like it kept happening. And Berlin's very multicultural, so it was So in one day, like 7 people from 7 different countries had all like written their love letters in like different languages. So
and you're like, wait, this is the thing.
Oh, that moment I will forever remember. I was sitting at the table, and I remember thinking to myself, because all I know is reference for music, because that was what I was doing for 15 years. So I was like, maybe this is what people feel when they sing a song to a stadium and you're not singing, it's the people singing.
Right.
That's when your art transcends yourself. Like it's not, the artist has been transcended, and it's your art is no longer yours, it's the audience's.
Right. That's something.
Yeah, that's something.
Because now it merges with their feelings, with their emotions, with their wishes, with their whatever it is. And yeah, maybe you gave the opportunity to, but now they're fully engaged.
Yeah.
And now they're part of the art. So yeah, that's
like
deep.
If you imagine like Oasis singing Wonderwall at the guitar in a stadium.
Yeah.
But then the singer doesn't sing, and it's just people like, today it's gonna be the day, it's the people's song.
Yeah. It is. They may have authored it, but what it means to the people is completely something else.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, the world, as you're sitting there writing your own love letter, the world is joining.
Yeah.
Like almost super organically. You didn't plan it out at all.
I didn't plan it at all.
That's a nice moment. That's a super magical moment.
Super magical.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because Romain Boutin, the guy that I'm saying I work with, he was there, he was filming, so he captured the whole thing. And you look at my face in the footage, and I'm like, holy shit, what is happening? And I even I tell Romain, I'm like, film. So the day after, I thought exactly what we were saying earlier in this podcast. I needed time to think at home alone. And I was thinking deeply, like hard. And I came up with the idea to like do this, but like an ongoing project. Bring this letter and this desk all around the world and see if like the rest of the world would be down to continue the letter. And that's what I did for the past 2 years.
It's crazy. And so the beginning of the letter is still connected to the end of the letter now.
What do you mean?
So that day in Berlin, when you started, and the Chinese man, and then the Assyrian man, and everyone, so that you take that whole letter of everyone that signed it in between for the last 2 years with you everywhere? Or do you start a new section?
So technically, symbolically it's the same.
Yeah.
Which means it's the same, the scroll is the same paper, same size, same dimension, it's like the same scroll.
Right.
But technically now, like the scroll has reached such a huge size that I cannot carry it.
Unbelievable. How big is it now? Or how long, maybe?
So it's been 2 years that I've been taking this desk and this installation, this poetic intervention all around the world. And now 20,000 people have actually signed this letter.
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's a lot of energy in that letter.
Yeah. So 20,000 people have signed it. And so that's obviously the letter has kept growing and growing and growing. And now it's 1,500 feet long.
That's a very long letter.
Yeah. So that's 450 meters.
Yeah.
Which is like a couple of blocks in New York, or like I say as a reference that it's taller than the Empire State Building.
Yeah, and it is. Wow.
Taller than the Eiffel Tower.
That's crazy.
2 times the Pyramid of Giza.
No way.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's an ex, and she'll write a really long novel in your DM or something. This is even crazier than that.
Yeah, totally. It's like the crazy ex that just got back to your DMs.
Oh, you blame it on me. I'm blaming it on her. So that is amazing. And so when you present it in these new cities, right? I'm sure now there's some support from cities. I know you talked about it at Columbia University. You gave a TED Talk. Like all these things. There's been a lot of press about it. And how is it being received, by various cities and the people of various cities? Are they sort of like, oh, that's a cute thing? Or is it like, man, this could actually be really important?
I think...
Or is it in between, maybe?
I would say generally the response is the same everywhere. That it has this universal thing about it, which is also why it's working so well and resonating with so many people. It's because it's a very universal impulse to write this letter, to write a love message to the world. But you do notice, though, that in the communities or the countries that have either like just gotten out of a great suffering or are greatly suffering right now, there is an urgency to actually do the letter.
Yeah.
To either like bring it to the community or participate. But like I was just in Colombia, which got out of a civil war. Actually, I think it's civil war in 2016, a war that had been going on for 50 years. And I think the people are, because they're just coming out of it, recovering from all this suffering. When I was in Colombia, people they would do anything to help me bring the letter to a neighborhood, to a community. It's the country where really there was an urgency to bring this letter places, and people would have done anything they could to help me realize that.
Yeah, well, what did they get out of that example of so many well wishes? Because that's what it is. It's well wishes, and it's also, sometimes they say, you got to give to receive, right? So if you give love, chances are you're going to get love. Let's say in any situation, you say hello to someone, not to be too cheesy, but when you say hello to someone with a smile on your face, probably they'll smile back.
Totally.
But if you're like in your own world and your phone, it's nothing.
Exactly.
But then across like differences that are way bigger than just like walking down the street.
Yeah.
Right? That example of the world wishing other parts of the world well and smiling and exuding love, right? You're saying it does have an effect.
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. Like, why is it to like write something positive about the world, or is it? I think they want to send a message of peace. Yeah, like because they really want, like, they suffered from an environment that was everything but peaceful. So now that's all they strive for. We want peace. No, strive for.
Strive for, yeah.
Strive for.
Yeah, striving for peace.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely like or even like in Skid Row in LA, which is a community that's very difficult to access. You don't just bring an installation to Skid Row,
Right.
So General Jeff, who is the mayor of Skid Row, as he's called, or like he calls himself, he was so helpful with me bringing the world letter to Skid Row, and I could feel that to him it was important that I bring it there, and so he arranged that I actually bring the world letter to Skid Row, which I understood that it's not something he does for everybody,
Right.
So again, like I felt, wow, this community needs this love.
It's so crazy. Just you there, and you look the way you look. You're very, the colors match everything. It's like you're some sort of an alien being, right? Sitting there with this letter, and you're just bringing it. How do you? Because when you present it, I'm sure a lot of people must have come up and talked to you, especially in Skid Row.
Yeah. So a big part of setting up the world letter, this installation in the street, is actually to talk to people.
Right.
So you have to talk pretty much to every person that comes around the letter, just to like explain what to do, what this is. And so I definitely end up talking with like thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. But is there a recurring thing you hear? And do some people think you can personally save the world?
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think some people are like, you should preach this message at least like to a broader audience.
Right.
Probably not save the world, but at least like bring a message of peace, or like at least be a spokesperson to their voice.
Right.
And what they tell me, I should actually tell it louder.
Right.
So it's absolutely funny though that like everybody says the same things, everybody asks the same questions. I wish I could just film and like put everybody, like every person voices on top of, it's like the same thing.
Imagine if you could, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, and would that be intrusive to your expression? or if let's say the small team is there and they follow you and it turns into like this ongoing sort of like, hey, this is what Nicaragua is saying, this is what Paris is saying, this is what Ukraine is saying.
Yeah.
You know, would that be part of a dream as well? Is that something you want to do, or do you like it the way it is now?
I film everything.
Yeah.
It's just I film either me or I ask volunteers to film. So it's not always like constantly taping.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think documenting is a very important part of it, because you need to do it like wisely though, because sometimes people will not open up if there's a camera, which totally is understandable.
Right.
But you can't. There are some things you cannot film, but it's so important to film still.
Yeah.
Because that's the memory of it that you can share.
Mm.
And I want to make a documentary for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's great, like just to go around everywhere. And I've also discovered just from my being in the street, like when you stay in one place for, let's say, 3 days a week, you know, you feel that, you know, you feel a certain aspect of that neighborhood, right? And people will talk and people will say things and people will express sometimes anger, but also like love, you know, and you feel what it is that particular part of the city is about.
Because when you do a mural, you go back, it takes a couple of days.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's a big one. It's many days. And then, you know, I've dealt a lot with just people that have, you know, they're just hanging out on the street and they think, hey, here's a guy who's not doing anything. Yeah. He's just putting some color on the wall. Let me go strike up a conversation, you know. And of course, there's lonely types and homeless people and crazy people and gangsters and like all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But also other people. And you learn a lot just by being there, you know. Yeah. So I think that would be really interesting in your particular case because you're dealing with the letter, right? Yeah. And the best wishes people have for the world, which must include something they're trying to change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if people want to participate so much is because they either want to when they write their letters, they say, I pledge to do better, I pledge to take better care of the earth. So there is at least a desire to change, and then are they really doing it after writing their letters? Like, I don't know, but there is a desire for that.
Right.
Desire to do better. Yeah. Desire for the world to be better.
Yeah. And that's powerful.
It's very powerful.
Is there anything that stands out always that you're like, you know, now that you're an old pro in a way, the 2 years in the street dealing with thousands of people, 20,000 signatures, or well wishes or ideas, do you see like, you know, this place is a little bit like that place, and that place also kind of wants this thing? Is there anything that pops up as like, this is like the recurring thing all over the world? You know, like, is there something like that? Or is it so diverse?
No, it's not very diverse. It's very repetitive. Yeah? Very.
What can we imagine? What can we imagine?
I mean, I think the very interesting thing would be if like a sociologist, how do you say in English? Sociologist would analyze the letter, but definitely they would say it's repetitive. Right. It doesn't matter where you go, and people don't read the previous 20,000 letters.
Right, exactly.
So it's not like they can copycat, you know?
Yeah. But the same.
Yeah, when I did the TEDx, I divided in 10 or like 11 categories of like the most recurring words or like themes. And when you put those 10 phrases, it actually makes almost like one letter.
No way.
Yeah, so it would be like one voice from these 20,000 voices.
That's interesting.
So it's like, dear world, I apologize. I feel so sorry for what I've done to you, for what we've done to you. Yeah. But usually there's a twist in the middle of the letter where people become more hopeful. And they say, but I promise to do better. I think if we come together as one humanity and work on this, we can actually achieve peace. And then all of a sudden it becomes like a very positive letter. Yeah. And I thank you for all you've given me. Yeah. My existence is because you exist. and I love you, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna make it, and
there's self-motivation at the end.
self-motivation at the end.
Interesting.
And then thank you is the most, it's the one that comes back the most.
And thankfulness for gratitude for like being alive, or like for the world being what it is, when it's the beautiful thing that one can respond to.
It's mysterious. Like thank you for, because at the end of the day, it's true. Like if the world didn't exist, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think people are thankful for their just sheer existence.
Yeah.
Thankful for like the little things, or their kids, or their wives, or their whatever, like their guitar.
It's fascinating stuff. It's a sweet thing to do. You know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's very sweet.
Thank you.
You're sweet. You're sweet for doing that, and also for wanting to do it. And it's like we spoke about earlier. There's so much effort that goes into it, right?
So much. It's endless. It's really a full-time job. I would need 4 people in this team to. Yeah, at this point, it's like a whole enterprise.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if the letter was red. That would be also interesting. You get someone like I don't know, Daniel Day-Lewis, and he reads a part of it,
and
then all of a sudden
amazing.
Christopher Walken's reading it,
yes.
And then let's say Meryl Streep or someone,
that's such a good
right?
idea.
And then someone sings a part of it, right? Yeah. Imagine, so there's so many ways you can go. Still, in a way, you're just collecting data, while you're like researching, while you're out there performing, right?
Yeah.
And the performance aspect is almost like to get the flies to come closer to the fly trap.
Yeah.
Not that people are flies.
No, I get what you mean.
But to get them interested.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
It's like someone. It's funny because of those 20,000 people like always throw an idea. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. And the thing of like the celebrities reading letters.
Yeah.
One person suggested it.
Yeah.
I think it was at 29 Rooms. I remember writing it down. I was like, this is such a good idea.
Amazing. Yeah.
And like there should be like a conference, like a press conference. So I guess the press conference wouldn't be the setting, but like maybe 10 actors and
Morgan Freeman.
Exactly. Wow. People that have like very signature voices, and they would read letters and do like.
And then also other people from other cultures, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, this is like. I don't know about the reputation of Benetton, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
but they had one campaign when I was a kid, United Colors of Benetton, right? So this can go all kinds of ways, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you're thinking about all that.
Yeah, and I'm always writing down ideas. I have like a little text file in my computer that's like all these ideas that people have given, or that are, what can we do with all this data?
Right, exactly.
And I think for now I'm still collecting. Like I'm still like ongoing, I'm still setting up the desk in the street, and I feel like a friend of mine calls it like redistributing the letter, which would be maybe the phase where celebrities can read the letters, but I feel like that's a phase that's a little further down the line.
Right, or an actual book. A big Bible of like, okay, between 2016 and 2021, this is how the world felt in all these cities that you're going to.
Yeah.
Right? That's also interesting. A snapshot. Snapshot of people's desires and wishes and hopes.
Yeah.
Right? It's very powerful.
But I'm really excited now because I've been to countries that didn't have the same wealth as the US,
right?
And there is a difference still, like in the way people write. Like yesterday, I met this guy. He wrote in Kurdish on the world letter, and so he's a refugee from Iran. He's gay. I think that's why he had to leave Iran. And in his letter, like you could feel that even if we were all at this art show where, people, to go to an art show, you have to be privileged, and it's like an elite type of, you have to have $30 to actually go to this thing and see this thing.
Depends on the art show,
Yeah, but I mean, in general, like at the scale of the world, $30 to go to an art show, like you're privileged.
Yeah, most of the time I don't pay for an art show.
But you're Chase.
No, but in general, like this event that we were part of, that's not the norm.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. So he was there.
And like his letter I've noticed it's something that I've noticed from refugees, because I had a refugee from DRC in New York who wrote on the World Letter, and
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Congo, exactly, which is a country that is going through tremendous challenges, and wars and conflicts. So my refugee from Congo, Kaima, I have like a big affection for him. He wrote his letter to the world, but mostly to his mom, because he had not seen her in a long time. He's away, you know. And my guy from Iran yesterday, same. He wrote to the world, but he wrote to his mom.
Yeah.
Because he has not seen his mom in 5 years. And he cannot go back to Iran, and she cannot come here. And he doesn't know when he's going to even be able to go out of the country, of the US.
Yeah.
So you do feel like a certain suffering in these lives that are the repercussion in the love letter to the world. It's like more oriented to like their families.
And sometimes the person you miss the most is your world.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to your mother and all that stuff.
And when it comes to like living such difficult, when you have to leave a place, when you're misplaced, when you're displaced, not misplaced, displaced.
Yeah.
So, that's those big hardships of life have an influence on the letters.
Yeah.
That's why now I think on like the next month I want to go to countries where see what it is when you don't have $30 to go to an art show.
Oh yeah. Just anything. Yeah. Exactly. So what's the plan now after LA? You're leaving tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an itinerary, or are you going to regroup in New York and then decide?
Regroup in New York, and then end of September I'm leaving the US, and I'm going to leave for at least 6 months. And I really don't know where I'm going to go yet.
But you know you're going to go.
But I know I'm going to go.
That's good.
And I'm probably going to go to... I've been to Europe, North America, and South America with the letter. So I'm thinking I'm going to go to the 3 continents where I haven't been yet. Africa and Asia and Oceania.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. That's fantastic. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. I think what you're doing is very special.
Thank you.
And it's great seeing you again. And bam, I think we got it right now.
Amazing.
If people want to find you online, where can they find you?
So the project is called The World Letter, and the handle is @TheWorldLetter on every platform: Insta, Twitter, Facebook. The website is theworldletter.com. And me, I'm Cocovan, Cocovan, and you can find me as I am Cocovan on every platform.
Bam, that's it.
Boom.
Coco, great to see you.
Good to see you, Chase.
Ciao, ciao.
Gros bisous.
Bye-bye, ciao. Boom, that was Cocovan. Pretty cool stuff. Thanks for listening, guys. And if you want to find us on Instagram, we're @HappyNoFear. I'm, of course, @TheArtOfChase. And if you dig the podcast, please rate it. That always helps a lot. Or share with a friend. Or, do both if you feel so inclined. That's it for this week. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.